Every single day, life presents you with two paths: remain stagnant or evolve into something greater. And here's what you need to understand. If you're not actively developing yourself, you're gradually tearing yourself down. Evolution isn't optional. Change isn't something that comes and goes with the seasons. Achievement doesn't pause for the perfect emotional state, the ideal moment, or a sudden surge of motivation. It requires daily commitment, unwavering action, unbreakable discipline. Because here's the reality. Nothing transforms until you transform, and nobody else is going to step in and handle it for you. Discipline forms the bedrock on which all significant accomplishments are constructed. Without discipline, aspirations stay fantasies. Commitments crumble into justifications, and capability becomes squandered gifts. You see, discipline isn't about imprisonment. It's about liberation. The liberation to transcend laziness, to command your decisions, and to exist with purpose rather than wandering aimlessly through existence. Most individuals misunderstand discipline as something confining, something that steals their enjoyment, something that complicates life. But the reality is, discipline is precisely the instrument that empowers you to craft the existence you envision. It doesn't bind you. It sets you free. When you master self-discipline, you're no longer controlled by your urges, your emotions, or your justifications. You acquire the capacity to execute, to construct, to persevere when others abandon ship, and in a reality where most allow convenience to determine their destiny, discipline becomes your supreme competitive edge. Consider this carefully. How many occasions have you promised yourself you'd transform? That you'd begin the next day, that you'd rise early, exercise, learn, create, advance. And yet, when the alarm sounds, when the moment to act presents itself, the comfortable option calls louder than the correct option. That's when discipline enters. Discipline doesn't inquire, am I in the mood today? Discipline declares, my feelings are irrelevant. This is what must be accomplished, because emotions are transient. Motivation is momentary. But discipline constructs patterns, and patterns construct existences. When you select discipline, you're not relying on emotional fluctuations or explosions of enthusiasm. You're establishing a framework, a cadence, a way of living where achievement becomes unavoidable because execution becomes instinctive. This is why those who triumph repeatedly aren't the most gifted or the most fortunate. They're simply the most disciplined. Every victor you respect, every trailblazer who moves you, every individual who has reached greatness, they all conquered discipline long before anyone witnessed their outcomes. Discipline is rising when the sheets are cozy and the planet is silent, forcing through another repetition when your body begs for relief, selecting concentration while interruptions compete for your awareness. Discipline is refusing what feels pleasant in the instant so you can accept what weighs most heavily in the future. And here's the truth. Discipline is not magnificent. It's not praise. It's not acknowledgement. It's not applause from the masses. It's the silent selections made in darkness when nobody is observing. It's in those invisible instances where your essence is hammered, where your patterns are molded, and where your fate is decided. The inquiry isn't, do you desire achievement? The inquiry is, are you prepared to withstand the discipline necessary to claim it? Now, let's be honest. Discipline is not simple. It's not designed to be. If it was simple, everyone would possess the existence they fantasize about. Discipline is unpleasant. It demands sacrifice. It will examine your patience, extend your resolve, and test your stamina. You'll encounter days where every part of your existence begs to surrender, to choose the effortless road, to capitulate. And this is where most individuals collapse. They mistake discomfort for impossibility. They believe, if it's this challenging, perhaps I'm not destined for it. No, the reality is reversed. The challenge is the indicator that you're advancing in the proper direction. Evolution is unpleasant. Transformation is unpleasant. But nothing valuable arrives without the flames of discipline. The instant you cease fighting discomfort and begin welcoming it as the cost of advancement, that's the instant you access a dimension of power and toughness you never imagined you possessed. And here's the magnificence of discipline. It multiplies. Initially, it feels intolerable. The alarm clock is a battlefield. The workout feels like agony. The fresh patterns seem impossible to maintain. But if you refuse to shatter, if you continue appearing day after day, something extraordinary occurs. Your mind reconstructs. Your body adjusts. Your essence strengthens. What once felt intolerable becomes standard. What once felt crushing becomes weightless. Discipline evolves into routine. And routine evolves into identity. You no longer must compel yourself to execute the difficult tasks because the difficult tasks become your nature. This is the concealed strength of discipline. It doesn't merely alter what you execute. It alters who you become. It converts you into someone unstoppable, someone immovable, someone who doesn't pause for circumstances to be flawless, but who manufactures perfection through persistence. And if you question this reality, observe the individuals who exist without discipline. They exist in patterns of remorse, pursuing temporary satisfactions and suffering permanent consequences. They desire outcomes without sacrifice, prizes without exertion, evolution without suffering. And so they remain trapped, imprisoned by their own absence of self-mastery. The planet is saturated with wasted capability because individuals desired convenience more than magnificence. But discipline is the boundary line. It's the divider between those who speak and those who execute, between those who hope and those who accomplish. Every occasion you select discipline, you expand the distance between who you are and who you once were. Every occasion you select discipline, you transmit a declaration to the planet and to yourself, I will not compromise. I will not wander. I will not squander my existence. Discipline is not merely about reaching objectives. It's about experiencing an existence that demands respect, that emanates purpose, that creates an impact. And it all initiates with the straightforward daily selection to execute what must be executed no matter what. Life doesn't compensate those who wander. It compensates those who determine. Too many individuals awaken each morning without a blueprint, without a heading, without a mission, and then question why years vanish without genuine transformation. You cannot stumble your path into magnificence. You cannot anticipate existing on autopilot and somehow arrive at achievement. Intentionality is the distinction between experiencing an existence that occurs to you and experiencing an existence that occurs because of you. When you awaken each day with intention, you're announcing to the planet, I understand where I'm headed. I understand who I'm transforming into, and I refuse to permit interruptions to redirect me away from my path. Without it, you're like a vessel without a steering mechanism, displaced by the breeze, thrown by the currents, constantly occupied, but never reaching. And here's the reality: occupation is not identical to advancement. You can sprint in loops for years and still conclude nowhere. That's why intention must be the operator. Intentionality signifies you cease abandoning your existence to randomness. It signifies you cease stating, I'll observe what occurs, and initiate stating, here's what I'm constructing. It's the craft of determining beforehand what holds significance and organizing your day surrounding it. How you invest your morning, how you manage your hours, how you respond to disruptions. All of it demonstrates whether or not you're existing intentionally. Too many individuals permit others to control their time. They respond to every alert, accept every request, and exist their existences based on other individuals' priorities. But when you exist intentionally, you discover to refuse what doesn't synchronize with your mission. You discover to safeguard your concentration, to architect your calendar, to guarantee that your vitality advances toward constructing the future you desire instead of powering interruptions you'll subsequently regret. Every selection, regardless of how minor, is either a stride toward your vision or distant from it. Intentionality sharpens that consciousness. You cannot afford to exist without intention because time is too valuable. Every day that escapes is a day you never retrieve. Consider that for an instant. Your existence is being expended whether you're intentional or not. If you're not calculated about how you utilize it, your time will be devoured by matters that don't hold significance. Intentionality compels you to pose yourself difficult inquiries. Who do I desire to be in 1 year? What patterns will mold me into that individual? What must I cease executing today that prevents me from becoming that? Without those inquiries, you conclude laboring intensely, but not laboring intelligently. You conclude saturating your calendar with tasks that maintain you occupied but not productive. Intentionality removes the chaos and exposes the fundamentals. It's not about executing more. It's about executing what holds most significance. Because magnificence is not about quantity. It's about accuracy. Existing intentionally also necessitates clarity of vision. If you don't understand where you're headed, how can you possibly advance with purpose? Most individuals don't collapse because they absence capability. They collapse because they absence clarity. They establish vague objectives like, I desire to be accomplished, or I desire to be content, but never determine what that resembles. That's like stating you desire to embark on a journey, but refusing to select a location. Intentionality compels you to determine achievement for yourself, to illustrate a vivid picture of your future, and then synchronize your daily executions to that vision. If your objectives aren't precise, your executions will be dispersed. But when your objectives are crystal transparent, every determination becomes simpler because you can evaluate it against the existence you're constructing. The intentional individual doesn't inquire, do I feel like executing this? They inquire, does this advance me closer to my vision? Intentionality also transforms how you manage relationships. Who you surround yourself with holds significance. Are the individuals in your existence pulling you closer to your capability, or are they maintaining you prisoner to your past? When you exist with intention, you become selective about your circle. You cease squandering vitality on individuals who exhaust you, interrupt you, or discourage you. You invest in relationships that inspire evolution, propel you to elevate, and maintain you responsible. Intentional existing signifies you don't merely wander into toxic atmospheres or remain in situations that contaminate your essence. You deliberately select who you permit in your space. Every dialogue, every interaction, every alliance has an influence, and intentional individuals are conscious of that influence. They don't gamble with their atmosphere. They cultivate it. And the most powerful aspect about intentionality is that it converts ordinary days into exceptional ones. A normal morning becomes a launching platform. A single dialogue becomes a catalyst. A minor determination becomes a pivot point. Because when you exist with intention, you're no longer merely surviving. You're creating, constructing, becoming. You don't permit hours to escape through your fingers undetected. You extract value out of every instant. You evaluate advancement not by randomness, but by selection. This is what divides those who exist with remorse from those who exist with satisfaction. One day you'll reflect on your existence, and the inquiry will not be how much time you possessed, but how intentionally you existed it. Did you permit existence to determine for you, or did you determine for existence? Learning is not something you complete. It's something you exist. Every single day is a classroom, whether you acknowledge it or not. The difficulty is too many individuals walk through existence ignoring the lessons directly before them. They treat school as the sole place for learning, as if education concludes when graduation initiates. But genuine evolution, genuine wisdom, genuine transformation, those arrive from a lifetime of learning. If you're not learning daily, you're repeating the identical mistakes, recycling the identical patterns, and reliving the identical collapses. You're trapped in cycles because you refuse to absorb the lessons existence keeps presenting. The planet is teaching you constantly, but the inquiry is, are you listening? The reality is knowledge is everywhere. It's in books, in dialogues, in collapses, in victories, in silent instances, and in storms that shake you to your foundation. But most individuals ignore these opportunities because they're blinded by pride. They believe they already understand enough. They assume what functioned yesterday will be enough for tomorrow. That mindset is the extinction of evolution. The instant you cease learning is the instant you initiate dying, because the planet is constantly advancing forward, constantly evolving, constantly transforming. If you remain stationary, you collapse behind. Learning is not about accumulating facts. It's about sharpening your mind, expanding your perspective, and preparing yourself for the challenges ahead. It's about constantly becoming more than who you were yesterday. Consider the individuals who ascend to magnificence. They are pupils before they are experts. They are pursuers of wisdom before they are trailblazers of nations, constructors of enterprises or creators of movements. They read, they study, they pose inquiries, they remain curious, and they don't merely consume information, they apply it. Applied knowledge is where transformation occurs. 1,000 books won't transform your existence if you never act on what you read. Endless guidance won't transform you if you never put it into practice. Learning isn't about appearing intelligent. It's about existing intelligently. Every lesson you take and apply becomes a stepping stone toward the existence you desire. But the tragedy is so many individuals accumulate knowledge like trophies on a shelf, never utilizing it, never embodying it. Don't merely be a learner in theory. Be a learner in execution. Learning also necessitates humility. You cannot evolve if you're too proud to admit you don't understand. The ego is the greatest adversary of advancement. Pride will inform you, I've heard this before. I already understand this. And it will obstruct you from witnessing deeper realities. But humility maintains you open. Humility states there's constantly more to learn, even in the matters I believe I've mastered. The wisest individuals in history were the most humble because they comprehended that their knowledge is infinite and the human mind is limited. The instant you believe you've reached the summit of learning, you've constructed a ceiling over your own evolution. But when you remain humble, every experience, every individual, every challenge becomes a potential teacher. Even suffering, even collapse, even betrayal. These become lessons that elevate you if you're prepared to learn. And here's something you must comprehend: learning isn't comfortable. It's not constantly inspiring. Sometimes it confronts you with realities you don't desire to face. Sometimes it exposes your weaknesses, your ignorance, your blind spots. But that discomfort is the very thing that propels you to evolve. Too many individuals abandon learning when it gets uncomfortable. They avoid perspectives that challenge them. They refuse to read what might confront their beliefs. They remain in echo chambers, only surrounding themselves with ideas they already accept. That's not learning. That's self-delusion. True learning compels you out of your comfort zone. It stretches your mind. It challenges your assumptions. It demolishes false walls you've constructed around yourself, and opens fresh doors you never knew existed. If you desire to evolve, you must be prepared to be uncomfortable. And let's be transparent, learning never concludes. It doesn't halt when you reach a certain age, or when you land a good job, or when you accomplish an objective. The most dangerous thought an individual can possess is, I understand enough. Existence will constantly demand more from you. Fresh seasons necessitate fresh skills. Fresh challenges necessitate fresh strategies. The individual you're becoming tomorrow will demand a version of you that is wiser than today. And the sole way to meet that demand is to continue learning. Make it a daily discipline. Read something that expands your mind. Listen to voices wiser than yours. Pay attention to your collapses and extract the lessons from them. If you exist with a mindset of constant learning, you'll never cease evolving. And if you never cease evolving, there will be nothing in this planet that can maintain you down. Your body is the foundation of everything you execute. Without health, your vision is useless, your ambition is powerless, and your dreams remain untouched. You can't construct magnificence on a fractured vessel. Yet so many individuals exist as if their body is indestructible. They neglect it, abuse it, feed it garbage, and then question why they possess no vitality, no clarity, no power to pursue their objectives. You cannot labor on yourself in any area of existence if you don't first respect the vehicle that transports you through it. Health is not a side project. It's the base upon which every achievement rests. When your body is weak, your mind decelerates, your essence feels crushing, and your motivation evaporates. But when your body is powerful, everything else becomes sharper, clearer, more alive. Too many individuals chase achievement while silently destroying their health. They labor for money but sacrifice their vitality. They chase validation but ignore the signals of exhaustion. They desire longevity in their careers